The Gift. Surprisingly, not an episode about Buffy deciding that celebrating a birthday party is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah, we already went through that episode where it was her birthday.
Yeah.
We open with a dude in a very 2000s oversized t-shirt running from a vampire.
Buffy pops out to engage in banter for a while before the vampire finally attacks her and they fight and Buffy kills him.
She got beat up pretty bad, despite it only being a single vampire.
And the guy she rescued is surprised at what she can do and says she's just a girl. And Buffy agrees.
It was a weird opening in how staged everything felt.
Agreed. Even just its whole placement here. I mean, they're clearly trying to kind of sum up the whole thing of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it was a little weird.
She enters the magic shop and demands that Giles recap everything important that's happened this season, which felt very stilted.
So Giles repeats that if Glory activates the key, all the dimensions will crash into each other, and only by stopping the flow of the blood can the gate be closed. And Giles makes it clear that if Glory opens the gate, they have no choice but to kill Dawn.
But Buffy refuses to talk about that until Giles has an emotional outburst, which was pretty cool.
No, you don't understand. We are not talking about this.
Yes, we bloody well are!
And he says that if Buffy tries to protect Dawn, she will fail.
Which means everyone will die anyway.
Xander suggests they try to kill Ben, saying he might be an innocent, but they could still kill him, but no one responds, and he seems to regret suggesting it.
Despite Buffy killing humans before. And Willow says they don't have to kill Glory, they just have to stop her until the ritual time has passed.
Anya brings up the Dagon sphere, which everyone else completely forgot about, and she helpfully reminds us that it was supposed to repel Glory and might be able to hurt her, and we haven't seen it since it was first introduced way back in No Place Like Home, which was episode 5 of the season.
Yeah, when Glory first showed up. She also suggests using the troll hammer from that other episode, and despite it being very heavy, Buffy picks it up. But we know how heavy it is, and it was on the top shelf of a regular bookcase, which was not realistic.
And they don't mention that Xander got hit by it multiple times without any real negative consequence, so I don't think it would be that great.
Directly in the head, right?
Yeah, but overall, this discussion was relatively intelligent until we get a reference to the Xander-Willow romance, and I almost had to turn the episode off.
Elsewhere, Ben tells Dawn to put on a robe for the ritual, and she tells Ben that he's a bitch, and demands that he turn into Glory, which he does.
Glory says it must have been Ben's influence that stopped her from killing Buffy's friends before, which is at least an explanation of some kind, but not a very satisfactorily delivered one. And Glory says Buffy probably won't even come, and if she does, it might just be to kill Dawn to close the portal.
Buffy is training on a punching bag with virtually no technique whatsoever when Giles comes in to apologize for talking about killing Dawn, but saying that he would do what needs to be done.
And I thought using a punching bag at this point in time was a terrible idea, especially with how energetically she's going at it, and Giles even points that out. Buffy says that she's stopped every apocalypse so far, and mentions sacrificing Angel back in Season 2, but says she couldn't do that again. And she says she doesn't see the point of living in a world where she has to make choices like that, and that she just wishes Joyce was there.
She also tells Giles the cryptic message she got from the first Slayer about death being her gift.
And she says that if Dawn dies, she is quitting. Again.
Yeah, again. That's in my notes too. While the gang is searching for the Dagon sphere, Anya and Xander are instead banging in the basement. And afterwards, Anya struggles with her humanity and how she can't just leave the apocalypse because she loves Xander.
And at one point, Xander finds the Buffy sex robot and wonders why they kept it. And we get a weird edit where the camera is still pointing at Xander, but from a different angle. I thought that was very distracting.
Xander chooses this moment, standing in front of a sex robot, to propose to Anya. It was very romantic.
She slaps him, which I think was supposed to be funny, but it wasn't. And she says he's only proposing to her because he knows they're going to die, but he says he's doing it because he knows they won't die. So she says okay, but she'll only accept it after they stop the world from ending.
Willow is searching for magic to help stop the ritual, and Buffy points out that Willow is the only person who has hurt Glory, clearly referring to the ankle snake from that other episode.
Willow says she's been focusing on finding a way to help Tara because these characters don't know what priorities are, but she says if she can get close to Glory and reverse what she did to Tara, it might weaken her.
Which made it immediately clear that she was going to revert Tara back to her previous state in this episode, and as an added plot device bonus, Willow also says the act will incapacitate Glory, because she somehow knows that. The foreshadowing was so strong, it was an eclipse.
Someone calls Buffy over, and I thought it was Riley's voice at first, and I almost punched my computer, but thankfully it turned out to be Giles. And when she goes over, we get a little bit of Willow and Tara, so we don't hear what Giles tells Buffy, but she says it's good news and could be pivotal, and he's holding the Dagon sphere, so I assumed it had something to do with that. What does he tell her?
I don't know. Probably, hey, I found the Dagon sphere.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Buffy takes Spike back to her house for weapons, inviting him inside, and she tells him that she's counting on him to protect Dawn.
He says he'll protect her no matter what, and thanks her for treating him like a person.
Even though she's been a complete bitch to him this entire season except for the last episode.
And even though she should still kill him because he has tried to end the world and kill everybody, etc. multiple times. We see Glory's goons tying Dawn in place at the top of the tower that the crazy people have been building.
And Tara leads the gang to the ritual site,
where the other crazy people are still working on the construction, but I don't see what else they're trying to build. The tower's already there.
Glory approaches Tara, demanding to know why she's there, even though she shouldn't be surprised, because all of the other CGI people are there.
Willow pops out and does some magic that causes the three of them to fly back in different directions.
I said she re-CGIs them both.
And when Glory gets up, she says she made a hole in her head, and she needs to suck someone's brain. And when she sees Buffy, she says she'll take hers.
Glory is disoriented, and Buffy says it's probably due to the Dagon sphere. And then she throws it to Glory, and Glory just smashes it. What an idiot.
And then she and Buffy start fighting, and the rest of the gang runs in and fights the minions. In the middle of everything, Willow checks on Tara, and she seems to be back to normal but weak.
Glory's still fighting Buffy, and she punches her so hard her head flies off, just like... Was it that Friday the 13th movie where that happened?
Jason Takes Manhattan, yeah.
Yeah, it also happened in Killer Klowns.
Yeah.
You know, they just released an anniversary edition of that movie.
Oh, I'll have to get it.
They're not sponsoring us. I'm just letting people know.
The important things. It turns out it was the robot Buffy, and the real Buffy shows up and smacks Glory with Mjolnir before running to the stairs leading up to Dawn. But Glory just immediately follows, and they fight some more, with Buffy losing the hammer pretty quickly.
They have this big rush hour fight on the tower. I could practically hear Chris Tucker screaming, "Leave!"
Yeah, I said Jackie Chan fight in my notes.
Lee! Hold up! Oh, hell no.
They fight for a while before Buffy gets the hammer again, then loses it again, and then they both fall to the ground.
When Glory taunts Buffy, asking what she's going to do, Xander uses a wrecking ball and smashes Glory with it, and Buffy retrieves the hammer.
The rest of the gang is getting tired, but Giles says Buffy only needs to delay Glory for another few minutes. Up top, Dawn sees the weird Jeffrey Combs tongue demon and asks him to help, but he says he's there to stab her if Glory can't make it in time.
And Willow psychically contacts Spike, which she can apparently do now, and telekinetically shoves the goblins and people blocking the stairs out of the way so he can get up.
He confronts the tongue demon, but gets stabbed and easily tossed off the tower without putting up much of a fight.
When did the Resident Evil movie come out?
2002, I think, the first one. Oh, because of the tongue.
Because of the liquor. Trying to decide who copied off of who.
Yeah.
And then Doc injects Dawn with the T-virus. Meanwhile, Buffy is beating the shit out of Glory and says it's too late when Glory turns into Ben.
Buffy tells him to tell Glory to leave and never bother them again, and Ben says okay, so Buffy heads up to get Dawn. But after she goes, Giles comes over.
And Ben says Buffy could have killed him, but Giles disagrees, saying Buffy would never take a human life, despite her already having done that.
As recently as 2 episodes ago.
And that she is a hero.
And then he smothers Ben to death. It was a very touching moment.
My note just says good.
Doc starts cutting Dawn, causing her to drip blood. But then Buffy shows up and easily knocks him off the tower, and then frees Dawn. But it turns out her blood has already opened the portal. Lightning starts flashing, including in the same shot that we saw back in Shadow, where the giant snake was slithering through the streets. But this time it's lightning slithering through the streets. and we see a building turn into a Borg structure with xenomorphs crawling out of it. But we only see it in one shot. I was hoping we'd get more. And I'm surprised they made those masks or costumes or whatever for just one shot. I wonder if they pulled that from somewhere else.
Probably.
And we even see a giant CGI dragon fly out of the portal, but of course we only see it for one shot.
Costs money, man. Dawn tries to kill herself by jumping into the portal,
saying she knows that she has to end her blood flow to close it. But Buffy remembers her blood pact with Dawn, saying they have the same summer's blood, and telling Giles that Dawn is a part of her, and that death is her gift. And we see the sun coming up in a pretty cool shot, the only one of the episode.
I mean, when they stopped the blood flow, could they have just gotten some gauze?
That was a question that I had too.
I mean, I know it's kind of dark, but could they just have gotten Joyce's body and thrown it in? Because she's already dead.
Does she still have blood? I mean, don't they take it out when they embalm the body?
Well, she was resurrected as a zombie.
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't know. Buffy tells Dawn what she's going to do, but we don't hear it. And she kisses Dawn and jumps off the tower into the portal.
Everything's very dramatic. And we get a voiceover narration of what she said to Dawn as the gang finds their marks for a very set-up promo shot.
It turns out she told Dawn to tell the others that she figured out what she had to do and that she's okay with it. And she tells Dawn to take care of everyone else. And they all react to Buffy's dead body. And then we end on a dolly in to Buffy's gravestone. The gift, overall.
Alright, first off, I was very happy and slightly surprised that neither Angel nor Riley showed up. Just want to get that out there.
Actually, yeah, that is a big surprise considering that this was potentially going to be the last episode of the entire show because they didn't know if it was going to be picked up for any more seasons.
Yeah, I could see Angel showing up and her saying, you know, last time you died, now it's my turn or something dumb like that.
Yeah. And he'll say, no, and stick out his arm but not actually do anything, and then she'll jump in.
Man, we could have been such good writers back in the early 2000s.
I imagine he would have shown up at the last second on the ground. She would have said that same dialogue, but somehow he would have heard her from the ground, and then still done his, stick out his hand thing, and she would have jumped in.
And then, as Buffy jumped into the portal, we would see the portal from her point of view, and then a translucent vision of Joyce's face would appear there. And she would say, "It's okay, Buffy," you know, as Buffy was falling.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't do something like that.
I get that Buffy didn't want to kill Dawn, but it was a little tiring how she had to tell everybody that every 2 seconds. Having Xander and Anya push their relationship forward was good, and typically in episodes that are focused on the main season plot, other characters outside of Buffy are completely ignored. So it was good to see an exception, because those other characters are part of the show too. Spike acting like Buffy treats him with respect was complete bullshit, and asking the viewers to completely ignore their relationship or lack of one was a little bit insulting, and him helping out was not the difference this time. He has helped out before, but still gets berated afterwards anyway, so I didn't buy any of this.
I disagree on the Buffy side. I feel like lately she's been treating him with more respect, and even defending him from everybody else.
I think of the part where she takes Dawn to Spike, and we both say, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying if that's what they're doing, I don't know, the last few episodes have been different, I feel like. I'm not saying I like it, I'm just saying that's how I see it.
Okay. I mean, you can be wrong, that's fine. Tara reverting back to normal instantly, just because, made that character arc feel very meaningless. And it was a big surprise when it initially happened. I'm not against her regaining her sanity, but spread that shit out. Make her recovery have as big an impact as her falling apart. And we had a lot of character growth potential in the last few episodes with Willow trying to deal with the situation. So that's a 2-in-1 you could have had, instead of the writers just checking a box on the list. And Willow is basically Jean Grey now. She can psychically message people, she can telekinetically push people out of the way, do a bunch of other stuff writers will think of in upcoming seasons. Having Giles kill Ben was good, but his whole speech of, "We'll do what Buffy can't," while dramatic, was kind of a lie, because there were other points before this battle where the others could have stopped recurring or big threats, but chose not to. But maybe this will be a new side of Giles, where he just stops giving a f***. That would actually be a cool arc for him. You've seen the show. Does that happen?
I don't remember.
Okay. I was glad that some of the pointless stuff had somewhat of a purpose, like the troll hammer, but I still think the sex robot episodes were just a fan service excuse. and not keeping track of the Dagon Sphere, an object they know is effective against the biggest threat in the season, seemed careless and lazy. And I'm not educated in the art of battle, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to hand the advantageous weapon over to the enemy, because then they might just get rid of it, as Glory did immediately as it was handed to her. The Doc character was such a plot device, and once they were done with him, he was literally and figuratively thrown out of the show. I wouldn't be surprised if he not only never showed up again, but was never mentioned again, despite being the actual person who completed the ritual. Clearly Buffy's not dead, as there are 2 seasons left of the show, but her sacrifice was very dramatic. Whether or not dramatic enough to be on the news remains to be seen, as that channel seems very particular about which world-altering events they report on. Overall, I'm glad the season is over, things got wrapped up. I just wish it hadn't taken so long to get here. I gave this one a B-.
I gave it a C+. Killing off Buffy was ballsy, and that definitely brought my grade up. And Giles killing Ben was also darker than what we usually get. But the rest of the episode was just more of the same, and didn't succeed at achieving the sense of epicness that they were clearly going for. Buffy coming to the conclusion that she could close the portal by killing herself seemed like a bit of a leap, no pun intended because I'm not Nick and I don't hate our audience.
Yeah, but you still made that joke.
It's not a joke, it was a leap. It jumped to a conclusion.
You could have chosen any other word.
That takes work. Dawn's blood was still flowing, and it was a huge assumption to think that that wouldn't make a difference. Stopping the blood flow, it's not the blood that actually started it, it's still flowing. There's no reason to be so confident that that's going to be the solution. What if she killed herself and then it turned out it didn't work and then Dawn still had to kill herself?
What if she mixed her blood with like a gerbil and then threw the gerbil in?
And we didn't see if closing the portal reversed everything else. I assume it did because magic, but that CGI dragon could still be flying around somewhere. I thought the end fight with Glory was fine, but not at the level that it felt like it should have been. And there were so many moments, like Xander hitting Glory with the wrecking ball, that ended up not mattering at all. Like, at the time it felt like it was supposed to be a big thing, but then he never does that again. Why doesn't he use that on the minions, or drop it on Glory or something? Xander proposing to Anya, I thought felt kind of thrown in, as did the resolution of Willow and Tara. It felt like there wasn't enough time given to either of those things, and they kind of just come up out of nowhere. And we didn't see what happened with the rest of the CGI people. I mean, can Willow then, if she knows how to... Well, no, she saved Tara, but she did it by using Glory.
Yeah, Glory's gone now.
Yeah. And what is everyone else going to think when they find Ben's body? Are they going to think that Buffy killed him? Or is Giles going to tell them all that he left? The Dagon Sphere, when they brought that up, I said, okay, well, at least they're bringing it up again and they're going to do something with it. But then it didn't seem to matter. It seemed like it hurt Glory, but like you said, she destroyed it very easily. And then bringing up the sex bot all of a sudden here at the end felt like it was going to be a bigger thing than it turned out to be. I mean, they barely even used it as a distraction. It was fighting Glory, and Buffy waited until it got destroyed to step in and do something. Why didn't she step in while they were fighting? It seemed like it was there just for the shock moment of, oh, it's not really Buffy. And the same with Doc showing up again. He didn't really... I mean, like you said, he was the one that started the portal opening, but that could just as easily have been one of the minions or anything. So it felt like his presence here didn't really matter either, and then Buffy just knocked him off very easily, even though Spike was having so much trouble. I thought this wasn't a great episode, but it wasn't a terrible one. Knowing that this was planned as potentially the end of the show is interesting, and I don't see it being a very satisfying ending if that had been the case, although I definitely respect the idea of having Buffy die at the end. But I feel more ambivalent about this episode than any previous ending of a season, I think.
Alright, so we're through this season. Now we'll do a season overview discussion.
So look forward to that.